Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, distinguished guests, respected lecturer, faculty member, and esteemed participant. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to today's event, entitled WPS Lecturing Goes to Campus by the Asian Muslim Action Network, with the theme From Policy to Practice, the implementation of UNFCR 1325 in Brooklyn. First off, I would like to honorably mention the president of representative director of the Asian Muslim Action Network, Ms. Lilian Hongkong. And also, I would like to thank the support of the Dean of University of Jember, Dr. Suyatni Indras. Next, let me introduce today's special guest and lecturer. In the first session, we have Ms. Rubiati Hongpa, Ms. May Sabaku, Director of the Gender Equality Network, Ms. Trisaka Dermanasa, the founder and chair of the Association of War-Affected Women and Parents of Servicemen Missing in Action, which will be moderated by Mr. Anas Dodi Mozi. And in the second session, we have Ms. Rubiati Sudaiba, former chair of the National Commission on Violence Against Women in 2010 until 2014, Ms. Hamsatu Alamin, National Executive Member and Coordinator of the Federation of Muslims Network Association in Nigeria, and Dr. Linda Erian, Chair of the Center for Gender Studies, PFG in the University of Jember, which will be moderated by Ms. Pancha Puntawiran. I am Ahmad Mubarak as matter of ceremonies in today's event. Before we are jumping to the first agenda, I would like to mention all of today's agenda. To start off this event, we will be singing Indonesia Raya and Jember University Hymn Song, and then continued by an opening speech from Aman Indonesia and from the Dean of the Faculty of Social and Political Science of the University of Jember. And then there's an introduction video After that, we will start the first session of today's main event, closed with interactive discussion and Q&A. And then the rest, Friday prayers and lunch. After that, we will start the second sessions of today's main event, closed with interactive discussion and Q&A of the second session, and finish off with closing and evaluation. Moving on to the first agenda, as we commence this event, I kindly invite everyone to stand for the singing of our national anthem, Indonesia Raya, followed by the singing of Jember University song. Thank you, and please stand up. Dear participants, it is now my turn to introduce today's very special guest, Ms. Polina, which will also be our lecturer and speaker of our opening speech in today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Polina.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I want to check, can you hear my voice clearly? Is
Yes,
my voice on?
Very clear,
Okay.
Ibu Ruby.
Okay, thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. Ibu Suyani Indriastuti, the Dean of the Faculty of Social and Political Science, University of Jember, distinguished guests, esteemed lecturer, students, and also my colleague that's going to share the experience in different countries. It is true privilege to welcome each of you to this special lecture on women, peace, and security. And today, as we approach the 25th anniversary of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, we gather to reflect on its impact and reaffirm our commitment to advancing a more inclusive and just society, especially in Indonesia. Since 2000, Resolution 1325 has guided the development of national strategies worldwide, including Indonesian National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security called Rencana Aksi Nasional Perlindungan dan Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Anak dalam Konflik Sosial. In short, RAN P3AKS. Thanks to this commitment, we've seen significant progress in the implementation of National Action Plan on the protection and empowerment of women and children in social conflict. I think one is that very significant progress I could share with you is the establishment of integrated peace structures and allocation of the special budget to protect women and children in the level of province and city level. We also see coordination among government agency and civil society are improving in the context of how national and local level communicating each other, transferring the knowledge, as well as strengthening each other in making the success of the National Action Plan. We also recognize that the importance of the diverse roles of women play, whether as survivors of the conflict, peace builders, or women human rights defenders, that they're contributing a significant in the context of women, peace, and security. So each perspective of those women who engage in the context of conflict, post-conflict, or in the wide or larger context on peace building, valid, powerful, and must inspire state action. Regionally, we are also very optimistic with the growing of the regional framework taken from the Women, Peace and Security that strengthen partnership and solidarity among countries to advance gender equality and women's rights in peace and security. Across Africa, the African Union Maputo Protocol emphasizes gender inclusion. We also see in Europe, the European Union support initiative addressing gender-based violence in the conflict zones. And recently in ASEAN, also adopted the regional plan of action on the women, peace and security, expanding this agenda, particularly in addressing violent extremism, cybersecurity, migration and trafficking, and also climate crisis. However, we are still facing some challenges on the ground, in particularly political will in ensuring gender sensitivity integrated in the whole intervention to provide access to justice for victim and survivor of conflict. In 2023, last December, Aman Indonesia and Libu Perempuan led a critical dialogue in Sigi district in Central Sulawesi with the survivors of terrorism. This engagement highlighted deep-seated issues such as many survivors still face undressed trauma, economic hardship, and stigma within their communities. And this situation underscores gaps in the current recovery and rehabilitation processes, revealing an urgent need for more comprehensive, community-centered, and gender-sensitive support from the state. Meanwhile, we also see the good development in Aceh, uh, with the government sponsor on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission represent a promising model not only for Indonesia but I think in ASEAN and also the world. However, it's vital to ensure that survivors, particularly those affected by sexual violence during conflict, receive not only appropriate compensation but also access to long-term holistic rehabilitation program. Such programs should also include economic empowerment initiative to provide sustainable support. So this challenges us to advocate for stronger, inclusive, and survivor-focused framework that address the full scope of recovery from trauma healing to community reintegration and economic stability. The question we must ask ourselves is, how can we ensure these survivors receive the care, dignity, and support they need to rebuild their life? With the today collaboration with University of Jember, which my alma mater, I'm always proud of it, is dedicated to exploring women, peace, and security principles further, emphasizing women inclusion and conflict prevention, peace building, and protection from gender-based violence. By engaging students and lecturers in the University of Jember and also the future leaders, we aim to inspire new champions of peace and equality who can advocate women, peace, and security through research, policymaking, and a community engagement. Let's use this opportunity to not celebrate the 25th anniversary, but to look forward and build the future where our effort inspire lasting peace for generations to come. Thank you for everyone who make this event possible, and particularly the local organizer, my dear colleague, Hones. It's been a very honor to collaborate again with you after graduation from this university. And I'm really expecting for young, leaders in university also be able to this framework and then use in your intervention in the future. The other that I'm so much appreciate with all generosity from the university, Ibu Dekan and rector and other lecturers that very open the door for Aman Indonesia to share the knowledge on the ground and also bringing all the inspiring women across the globe to present to you on the Women, Peace and Security lecturing, which in the future, we hope you can use this video and all resources that we are going to produce as part of the knowledge that we present to Indonesia and the world. And thank you and success for the event. I am so much willing to come, but really unfortunately I have to attend series of meeting in Bangkok. That's part of the advocacy on the women, peace and security is the debate in the Beijing Platform for Action Plus 30 is going to have in the UN level at the Asia Pacific level. So thank you so much again and good luck with the event and looking forward to meet you in person in the future. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Sugiyani Indrayani, Dean of the Faculty of Social and Political Science at the University of Jember. Dr. Sugiyani will deliver her welcome address and formally open today's session. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Sugiyani Indrayani.
Is it my turn?
Yes, Bu Sujani, your turn now.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apologize. I cannot hear clearly the voice from the room. So yeah. Well, first of all, I would like to apologize because I cannot attend the meeting offline in the office. And this Vice Dean for General and Finance Affairs also attending the meeting in Banyuwangi, and Vice Dean for Students and Alumni Affairs also have a meeting with Rector. So I do apologize that we cannot meet you all offline in the office. But thank you very much for the event. First of all, I would like to appreciate and deliver my gratitude to Miss Dwi Rubianti Khalif as the director of the ASEAN Muslim Action Network, and also the distinguished speakers, Miss May Sabietu, Miss Visaka Dharmasada, Miss Yunianti Huszaifah, Miss Amsatu Alamin, and then Dr. Linda Dwi Arianti, and also moderator Dr. Pancawirani. And also thank you very much for Mr. Hones Dodimulasi for the initiation to initiate the meeting. Thank you very much. Yeah. As mentioned by Ms. Ruby Khalifah, that currently the issue of women and also inequality is very, we have many problems about it, and we are as a woman have to challenge and try to have a freedom for the woman. And I do appreciate that the ASEAN Muslim Action Network initiate collaboration with us, Faculty of Social and Political Science, and we conducted a Women Peace Security Lecturing Bus to campus. Thank you very much, Ms. Ruby Khalifah, and all colleagues in the ASEAN Muslim Action Network. This collaboration will bring benefit. I believe that will bring benefit not only for us as students and also in academic area, but also we can help to empower women through this event. So thank you very much, Ms. Ruby Khalifa, and I welcome from the initiation of MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, and we can proceed uh, the MOA, and we do hope that in the future we will have many events to implement the MOA. Thank you very much. And for all my students, I do hope that you can get knowledge, enrich your knowledge about the women action, about peace, security, that will help you to improve your skill and also your insights. Thank you very much. That's all from me. And I do hope that the event will successful. And yeah, see you in person in the future. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we will transition to our moderator, Mr. Hans, who will introduce the paper and lead us through the main lecture. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Hans.
All right. Thank you very much. Anybody can hear my voice? All right. Thank you.
I think there is Bapak device.
Di sana nggak dengar. Kalau pakai ini juga. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first session of the WPS. Lecturing goes to campus international seminars. And my name is Anas Badimolasi, and I'm a lecturer at the Department of International Relations, University of Jember. And today it's a pleasure to be your moderator as we explore the important topic on women, peace, and security, or WPS. Students, ladies and gentlemen, in 2000, the United Nations adopted UNSGR resolution number 1325 on women, peace, and security, acknowledging the significant impact that conflict have on women remain limited. With recent data from the UN Women showing that in 2022, just only 16% of those involved in conflict resolution were women. Of those involved in conflict, down to 23% in 2020. This highlights how much work still needs to be done to ensure women's voice are heard in peace building effort. In Indonesia, this resolution has been implemented through the National Action Plan for the Protection and Empowerment of Women and Children in Social Conflict, or we call it RAN P3AKS, like Ibu Ruby mentioned before. The rise of women, peace mediator, and activists, the WPS agenda still is not widely discussed, especially among young people. As future leader, youth have a key role in advancing this agenda. So, through program like WPS Lecturing Goes to Campus, like we done today, we aim to spread awareness and engage students in the conversation about WPS, making sure that it becomes a priority, not just for policymakers, but for everyone. Students, ladies and gentlemen, this session will run for about 2 hours or about 120 minutes. And each of our 3 speakers will have 20 minutes to present, followed by a Q&A session, where you will have the chance to ask questions and share your thoughts. Now, I would like to introduce our esteemed speakers. The first speaker is Ibu Ruby Khalifah, a country representative of Aman Indonesia. And Ibu Ruby is an alumna from University of Jember, and she has maintained a strong connection with our university until right now. And thank you, Burubi, to give this opportunity to join with Aman. And she has worked extensively on women's rights and peace building, particularly empowering marginalized women and encouraging their participation in peace processes across Indonesia. And I follow Ibu Ruby's Instagram. I know Ibu Ruby is very busy and always traveling around the world. She could be in Jakarta this morning and have lunch in Singapore and have a dinner in Bangkok. She's flown so often, and her accumulated miles, Garuda miles, are more than a pilot flight hours. So every time she board the plane, the pilot jokes, "Miss Ruby, would you like to fly the plane yourself? Because your flight hours are even more than the pilot have." The second speaker will be Mrs. Mai Sabe Piu. She is the director of the Gender Equality Network in Myanmar, GEN, or we call it GEN. I don't know, Jen or Jin. Mrs. May Sabipiu is a leading activist in promoting gender equality and women's rights, especially in conflict zones. Through GEN, she leads initiatives that have women become more involved in decision-making, especially in areas like national security. Her work has earned her recognition both nationally and internationally. And the last speaker will be Mrs. Visaka Dharmadasa. She's the founder of the Association of War-Affected Women in Sri Lanka. And Mrs. Visaka is a peace advocate who founded Association of War-Affected Women to have foster reconciliation in Sri Lanka following its civil war. She worked to ensure that women are included in peace-building processes and advocates for human treatment in conflict situations. Her dedication to peace has earned her global recognition. And ladies and gentlemen, my students, we are truly fortunate to have such distinguished speaker with us today. Now let's begin the session. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Ibu Ruby Khalifa. Please give applause to Ibu Ruby Khalifa. Please, Bu Ruby.
Hello, yes. Good morning.
Please, Bu Ruby, your time is 20 minutes.
Okay, I try my best 20 minutes with the 18 years of experience. Okay, let me share my screen. Hang on. Do you see my presentation on your screen or the big screen in the room? You got right? Okay. So this is 18 years I've been working in the women, peace and security through the work with Aman in Indonesia. It's such really privilege for us to finally deliver the program called WPS Lecturing Goes to Campus. We understand very well that there are so many barriers not having a specific lecture or subject on the women, peace and security. It's not your fault. It's because I think in a very specific context, it's only some of us that working in the conflict zone or dealing with peace building, realizing that the powerful of the women, peace and security agenda. It is under Resolution 1325. You can actually watch the entire of video on the lecturing. That is the reason why we develop a video on sharing of Aman knowledge on the women, peace and security. At least within a lot of reference that university studied, we want to have a space, create space where practitioners can share their ground knowledge, working with the community, with the policy maker at the village or city or provincial level, even at the national level. As our organization has been working in a across the levels, as well as engaging different actors in several provinces in Indonesia, then we are very happy to bring this more into a concrete level on how new actors can actually develop more the knowledge. So just very slightly about the our strategy. So we have a lot of work at the community level, which I want to bring one of the stories that we're doing in Lamongan. But let you all know that this is a huge, laboratorium for a researcher and also for students to do research beyond the business as usual that you're doing. So touching with the heart of the people, touching in the community, that actually can bring you more powerful knowledge and combination of the knowledge from a class to the community. We also work in consolidating progressive voices with 100 of the civil society across the island in order to bring the uniqueness of them, each of them, but at the same time to bring the diversities in terms of voices in advocating women, peace and security. We also doing advocacy, and that is the work that very much close with the academic world, which actually we also encourage our friends that has the academic background to really analyzing and help us to actually create a pathway in dealing with the government when it comes to the advocacy for the second generation of NAP, the third generation that we are now facing in the future. Lastly, we also working a lot on the spreading of the Islamic progressive interpretation, because one of the obstacles that dealing with the gender equality is about the bias interpretation and the growing of conservatism in our society. And we want this in combination with all of the movement exists in Indonesia together in promoting gender equality. And regarding with resolution 1325, this is a very historical moment for the world to have 1325, because in many years, the women affected by conflict, in particularly sexual violence victim and survivor, been ignored from the framework of human rights. That is the reason why feminist groups across the globe advocating the importance of UN to really adopt the framework that providing inclusive for the women. So when 2000 happened, adoption happened in 2000, was actually the idea that the feminist group challenged the world to really changing the mindset, changing the methods, changing the way you approach the peacekeeping, changing the security operation on the ground, and then bringing more gender sensitivity, because there are so many women affected by the conflict. Sexual gender-based violence cases are on the rise in many contexts. That's all the friends that I bring here. They're gonna tell you how the realities that women face during the conflict. So let's treat 1325 beyond the document, because it is more than just a resolution. It is historically that a landmark that providing us with a clear and more operational way on how to transform our approach to peace and security. Number one, you have to remember that in the fights to get the resolution passed in the UN, there was a strong voices to remind the world that the women is not single entities. When you see the women, they are diverse. They can be the victim, they can be the insight on the perpetrator group, or they can be actually the women human rights defenders like me, or like you, or they can be any kind of affected by the conflict. But then when you listen each of them, that actually bring you into very different way in understanding the resolution. Number two, since the world was not very much and accommodated the existing of the sexual violence cases as part of human rights violation, so that's why 1325 so much actually strong in addressing the importance of the rights of the victim, and also the importance of the state to provide the long-term and also comprehensive and holistic rehabilitation to the survivor of sexual gender-based violence in the conflict setting. So do not forget about it. because this is one of the core why 1325 exists. Number 3, it is about the agency and the leadership of women on the ground. You know, in many kind of conflict, if you can see, there are so many people actually, and in particular women, have contributed to peace, reconciliation, bringing community together. And then even until now, if you see fighting in the family, mothers is actually, you know, a jump into resolution. And I can bring you more and more examples on the ground. So with that, actually, it is very important to engage women in peace process. Without women in peace process, of course, the world will, the conflict will relapse, or the peace will not sustainable. And when you see 1325, this actually connecting to, you know, different document for those who are studying in the international relation. You will see that the communication document to document, that is actually the way the UN trying to strengthen, you know, and commitment for the state to protect women rights. For example, the document on the Beijing Platform for Action, that's also very important on the area of concern E. You can go there and see, and the women and in this conflict situation also strongly address, and that's even longer than 1325, because the document was passed in 1995 during the World Conference on Women. Other things that I would like to highlight is, if you see the women, peace and security, there are 4 pillars. It's very important, easy to remember: prevention, protection, participation, and relief and recovery. That actually covering about the prevention part, very easy to remember. Remember this: you cannot see the women actually only single picture. You have to see which are the women, which part of the organization, which part of the geographic lens, which part of the political affiliation, which part of, so you have to questioning this on and on. So so then in your work, you always see that it is important to see the diverse women sitting in the room, and they can contribute better. Other things that important in the prevention is ensuring the gender sensitivity in the context of women conflict prevention. It is not only just presenting the women in physically, but it is important to also considering the women voices and gender perspective, and looking at not only men and women, other genders that also discriminated in the community. That also important, because I think one of the results of the UN monitoring that the marginalized genders like transgender, LGBTQ in the conflict zone, they are the most vulnerable, and they are actually most targeted by gun group. Other things that we have to think about is on the prevention part. We need to have this in place in any institution, so then you will see that conflict will not erupt to be like a violence. So this is very huge arena, including peace building in school, peace building in the university, including like a lecturing like this is more and more happening in university, that helping the students to understand better. In terms of the protection, it's important to remember that institutional mechanism and structure ensure the security, safety, and health of women and girls is very important. We wanted you to also thinking and explore on the area of security sector reform and community security, including arms control program, because in the context of a conflict, this thing is very crucial. How security actors playing a role, and whether they are really gender sensitive or not, and how people control the proliferation of a small arm in the community, because that is can provoke, you know, violence happening. The other important thing is also increase access to justice for women and girls whose rights are violated. I talk about the rights of the victim and survivor of sexual gender-based violence. Participation, I think keyword is having women in the on board or in the room, not only about women physically, but also bringing the stories of women suffering because of conflict, terrorism, and more. Because having that, you will create a very different conversation inside the room, and then you will come up with a strong solution, even more inclusive. Relief and recovery covering area on the planning and funding of relief recovery initiative in conflict and post-conflict situation. That actually we want this more gender sensitive, including all intervention post-conflict situation have to really reflect on a gender, including when women and girls living in the camp area. So how this actually implementing? I give you one. How many minutes I have? If I have 5 minutes, I can just tell the story what happened in Lamongan regarding with social reintegration of the former ISIS combatant and the family friends. One of the very important arena that women peace and security now is very much engaged in the security issue is about terrorism. Indonesia, one of the countries that experience terrorism a lot, and we can have discussion about it in the other session. But I want to cut short in the way Aman trying to make the process of social reintegration of the former ISIS combatant. Sorry. Can I have another 5 minutes just to complete? Hello? All right. So do I have a time? Still time? Honest?
Yes, would be 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, can I have 5 minutes? Yeah, quickly. So what happened with the social reintegration of the former ISIS combatant in Indonesia? One is two top-down approach. So what happened with the top-down approach? The government having like an idea on after people arrested from the incidents, and then actually they have to pass the process called de-radicalization, is decreasing the level of radicalism in people's mind. And then after that, they go for a rehabilitation process. Then after that, they return to the community. So can you imagine that somebody that holding radical thinking and then written in your community and you don't know anything about it? Okay, it is too client-based, because everything that the prepared by the government is so much actually preparing the former ISIS combatant and the family without actually bringing up the community into the process. Again, what happened is a lacking of community engagement. That is like you, for example, you hearing that somebody ever joined with ISIS is going to return in your village, and I do believe that you will feel fear, because you don't know how actually to deal with this kind of people. And then what we did with the community in Lamongan is actually we did sensitizing. Hey, oh, can somebody off the audio? Yes, thank you. So the sensitizing of the community in the social reintegration is very important. I just quickly, this is the process. We do problem analysis, joint planning, a community resilient with a community development of interagency task force, reflective structure dialogue, the dialogue that's trying to engage everybody in the process so they understand and aware about the process. And then we do a proper planning for that. I just want to highlight where is the place of women inclusion in the whole process of social reintegration. C, on the part of preparation, starting with the analysis on the context of radicalization on the ground. When we started in Lamongan city, we understand that the Lamongan picture on radicalization is even higher comparing to others. And that is the reason we need researcher. We need researcher that actually having the gender perspective to be able to understand the context of radicalization in the village level, city levels, and also provincial level. With that, actually, we need to have also analyzing on how the role of women in peace building. We're gonna use women leadership in the process of the social reintegration. Why? Because women know better about the community because they are there 24 hours. They understand a lot about each person in the community. They are very influential, and we can use this as a part of the social reintegration. Other is the women participation in reintegration is the addressing the limited involvement of women in social reintegration workshop. So we want in every step of the reintegration, women are there. The other is ensuring diverse representation. We want to include range of women, including youth, including men inside the village, so we are not neglected or left someone behind in the process of reintegration. The process of the in the process of establishment of the task force, for example, because we need a group that actually implementing the planning, but we need to ensure that the women actually represent properly. They are part of that task force. Their leadership, they ensure the women hold high-ranking decision-making process, not only just putting women in the low ranking. We want to have a balance on the composition. We wanted to see the women as really a part of the process of the work on the task force. We want to see gender sensitive action plan appear in the planning action plan, where actually covering including leadership development of the women. We want to see safe work environment to create supportive space for women, preventing from harassment and violence, including a lot of unproductive, approach by the community that decline the women from the process. In the context of resolution that we are addressing in Lamongan, you can see that all the process are inclusive. From the mapping, influential community members involved in the process of the dialogue, mobilizing and visiting selected community members that include in the process of the dialogue, building trust with the community, raising awareness about radicalization and importance of the women leadership in peace building, including leading the process of the dialogue, because they already trained by our organization to run the dialogue. With that, actually, you will see that the whole process in detail. You will see the women actually there. Are men also in charge? Of course, men also in charge. But with the leadership of the women on the ground, we see that very different result, very different process, and very different in terms of the way engaging the people. Then this is the last one. So what we see when the women actually engage, you will see that diverse representation for inclusive solution. You will see improved security and stability outcomes. Why? Because women covering almost the layers of the concern in the community, including to disabilities and also the elderly people and also the marginalized groups, gender and others. So then they also secure in the process. Women able to addressing specific needs of the survivor if there are access, because that actually often neglected from the process. You will see the community-centric solution, deliver, and the village leader will be able to actually better to have communication with the community members, the leaders of the organization, but at the same time also engaging everybody in that. And lastly, And we will see that long-term socioeconomic stability, when people actually engage into the whole process of community development, and particularly in the context of social reintegration, where the former ISIS combatant and also families return to the community, and we need to engage them as well into the process. I am happy to share with you more if there are some questions on the process, and I should stop now. Thank you so much, and give back to moderator.
All right. Thank you, Ibu Ruby. Very interesting for your insightful presentation and for sharing your valuable experiences in advancing the WPS agenda. One thing that hasn't changed from Ibu Ruby, when she become a speaker, she always enthusiastic, selalu bersemangat, 100% selalu bersemangat. All right, and for participants, for students, anyone here want to have a special merchandise from Aman? Any one of you want a merchandise? Hello? Adakah yang ingin dapat merchandise? Please raise your hand. Enggak ada? Anyone here? You want to have a special oleh-oleh from Aman? Ada? Alright. Tidak ada yang mau Ibu bawa pulang saja. Okay, for participant, for student, please feel free to share this seminar or this this seminar on your IG story, Instagram story, or your feed, Instagram feed, or any social media you have. Reflect on your insight or lessons you have gained from this event. Okay? And make sure you share this within the next 3 days. Aman will give you a special merchandise for someone who posted in social media. Don't forget to tag @Aman Indonesia and @CPilsID. Mbak Aska, can you share this tagline in the chat room? All right. All right. Next, we will hear from Mrs. May Sabe Pugh. She's the director of the Gender Equality Network in Myanmar. And Mrs. May Sabe Pugh has been at the forefront of promoting gender equality and women participation in decision-making, particularly in conflict zone. Her work focuses on integrating gender perspective into national security policies and advocating for women's rights in challenging environments. Ibu Mai Sabe Pugh, the floor is yours. You have 20 minutes to present. Please, Ibu Mai Sabe Pugh.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, very
Okay,
clear.
great. Oh, it's so lovely to see my sisters Ruby and Visakar, and thank you so much for inviting me. And it's my pleasure. And according to the outlines I have received, so I prepare my talk into four main parts. So the first part will be the importance of UN Security Council resolutions 1325, which we know as resolutions for women, peace and security in promoting women's leadership in peace and security, right? So UNSC 1325 adopted by the UN Security Council in 2000, like Ms. Ruby already mentioned in her slides. As we all know, it's fundamentally transformed the global peace and security agenda by formally recognizing women's essential role in conflict prevention, peace building, and recovery. And I have also seen, I would like to repeat that the resolutions have 4 pillars: participation, protection, prevention, and relief and recovery, which were groundbreaking in that they redefine the roles of women in these arenas. and positioning them as central to effective conflict resolution, governance, and post-conflict recovery. So women as agent of change in peace and security. So within historical patriarchal systems, women bring diverse perspectives and solutions that are informed by their life experiences in conflict zones. This experience equips them with a unique understanding of local challenges and community needs, which are often overlooked in male-dominated decision-making spaces. The UNSC 1325 asserts that women should not just be included, but actively empowered in decision-making roles at all levels of governance, from local councils to international peace negotiations. A key point to note here, I suppose, is that women are not passive actors in peace processes, but essential actors. And this is not just about participation, but meaningful participation. And this isn't just about achieving parity. It's about recognizing that women bring distinct perspectives on economics, culture, health, education, safety, justice, and so forth that are critical for sustainable peace. And transforming peacekeeping and security operations. UNSC 1325 has also influenced peacekeeping and security operations by promoting the inclusion of women in security forces and peacekeeping missions. Female peacekeepers not only serve as role models, but also create a safer environment for local women and girls. And when women are part of peacekeeping contingents, they help build trust within communities, often fostering stronger relationships that improve operational effectiveness. Shaping legal and institutional frameworks. UNSC 1325 has led to the development of legal and institutional reforms that protect and promote women's rights. Many countries have developed national action plans to institutionalize gender perspectives within their peace and security policies. These national action plans aim to create frameworks where gender equality becomes a standard practice in both policy and action. Shifting perceptions of women as security stakeholders. The UN Security Council Resolutions 1325 has assisted in challenging traditional stereotypes. It shifts the perception of women as inherently non-political or peripheral to security matters. Instead, it acknowledged the fact that women experience conflict differently and therefore bring a distant and valuable perspective to security policy and practice. Addressing structural violence and gender-based inequality. Of course, I cannot end my response without saying that the UNSC 1325 specifically calls for attention to structural violence and systemic gender inequality that are often exacerbated in conflict. It recognizes that achieving sustainable peace involves addressing the underlying discrimination and violence women face, and that peace cannot simply be defined by the absence of conflict, but must include the eradication of gender-based injustice. So the second part of my talk will be the global milestones in implementing UNSC 1325. So over the past 24 years, we will be celebrating 25 years of UN Security Council 1325 next year. So the UNSC 1325 has led to several achievements. Adoption of national action plans. The establishment of national action plans by 104 countries is a landmark development. They provide a structured framework for implementing the resolution's goals at national levels. They guide policy development by outlining clear objectives, accountability measures, and indicators to monitor progresses. They encourage countries to incorporate gender-sensitive approaches across various domains, including defense, foreign policies, and post-conflict reconstruction. Pioneering feminist foreign policies. Some countries have gone as far as adopting feminist foreign policies that align closely with UNSC 1325's principles. Sweden, for instance, became the first country to explicitly adopt the feminist foreign policy in 2014. These policies emphasize the need to integrate gender equality and women's empowerment into international relations, development aid, and peacekeeping efforts. So increase female representation in peacekeeping. UNSCR 1325 has aided female representation in UN peacekeeping missions, underscoring the essential role of women in these operations. Female peacekeepers bring unique perspectives to peace mission and foster trust within local communities, particularly among women and girls affected by conflict. Integration of UNSCR 1325 principles into post-conflict frameworks. UNSCR 1325 has significantly influenced the design of post-conflict frameworks, ensuring that peace processes are inclusive and address the specific harms women experience during conflicts. Promoting women's leadership in peace-building efforts, UNSCR 1325 has redefined women's roles in peace-building, shifting the paradigm from passive involvement to active leadership. Women leaderships in peace processes has been shown to foster more resilient and inclusive communities. Achieving inclusivity and sustainability in peace processes. UNSCR 1325 has shown that peace-building efforts are more successful when they address the needs of entire communities, not just a select few. As countries continue to implement and refine their national action plans, the focus remains on translating these frameworks into actionable policies that reach the grassroots levels. Development of gender-sensitive indicators and data collection methods. UNSCR 1325 has sparked the development of specific gender-sensitive indicators and data collection methods that provide reliable, actionable insights into the impacts of peace and security on girls. Strengthen civil society organizations and government. UNSCR 1325 has also been instrumental in fostering partnerships between civil society organizations and governments. These alliances allow for a more comprehensive approach to peace building, as civil society organizations often have deep community connections and insights into local needs, while governments bring institutional support and resources. Increased funding for women peace building initiatives. One of the crucial advancements attributed to UNSCR 1325 is the increased allocation of funds towards women-led peace-building initiatives. Recognizing the need for financial support, donors and international organizations have dedicated resources to empower women in conflict-affected areas to lead peace and recovery efforts. So in the third part, I will talk about success stories and case studies from Myanmar and regional impacts. I think Myanmar offers a powerful example of grassroots movements aligned with the goals of UNSCR 1325. Despite immense obstacles and ongoing repression, systematic violence, including torture and conflict-related sexual violence, indiscriminate killing, and impunity, women-led organizations in Myanmar have become essential voices advocating for peace and accountability. I represent the Gender Equality Network, GEN. Our work is varied and extensive, some of which include integrated programming. Unlike traditional approaches which treat humanitarian development and peace-building efforts as distinct sectors, GEN prioritizes an integrated approach. This allows us to respond to immediate needs while simultaneously addressing root causes of vulnerability. For example, in response to food insecurity, GEN provides emergency aid as well as endeavors to rebuild livelihoods and foster long-term community resilience, ensuring gender equality. Women-led and gender-responsive approaches. GEN actively champions women's leaderships and participation in humanitarian response, peace-building, and community resilience. In contrast to traditional models, where women's roles are often marginalized, GEN places women at the forefront of both community organizations and conflict resolution efforts. This ensures that women's needs and aspirations are addressed, and they are empowered as agents of change in their communities. contextualized and flexible responses. Jen recognized that traditional one-size-fits-all approaches are insufficient in Myanmar's fluid and volatile crisis context. We have adopted flexible, context-specific strategies that allow us to adjust in real time to shifting political and humanitarian landscapes. This includes adjusting to alternative communication methods and local networks when the junta imposed internet blackouts, ensuring continuity in our engagement with local communities. Collaborations with local actors. Gen's strategy differs from traditional top-down approaches by emphasizing the empowerment of local civil society organizations and grassroots women's networks. We believe that local actors, especially women's groups, are best placed to understand and address the unique needs of their communities. We support these groups by strengthening their institutional capacity and providing resources to ensure their voices are heard in decision-making processes. Leveraging transnational feminist networks. GENS connects Myanmar's women's rights organizations with regional and global feminist networks. That's how we met with Ruby and Visakha, right? So amplifying their voices on the international stage. This approach allows us to advocate for global accountability that Myanmar's women are not isolated from transnational solidarity and support. Feminist lens in conflict and humanitarian action. Jen used a feminist lens in all of our work by challenging patriarchal structures and addressing gender-based violence, women's exclusions, and power imbalances. We ensure that our responses to conflict and crisis are transformative rather than palliative. Policy advocacy and normative change. Jen integrates advocacy with direct humanitarian work, pushing for long-term policy change in Myanmar and at the international level, while traditional humanitarian work focuses on immediate relief. And I would like to also share some of the lessons for ASEAN and Indonesia, especially for the implementation of UNSCR 1325. I think for Indonesia, these are critical lessons in Myanmar's experiences. First, building strong, resilient grassroots organizations is essential. As Indonesia develops and implements its own national action plans on women, peace, and security, prioritizing organizations can drive meaningful local engagement and improve security outcomes. Myanmar's example shows that when women's voices and lived experience are taken into account, peace-building efforts can better of those affected by conflict. Second, Myanmar's women-led movements illustrate the importance of international support and protection for activists working under repressive conditions. ASEAN's responsibility to protect its members in upholding human rights is evident here. I must say, we in Myanmar have had very little success with ASEAN, but our context is different from yours. Nonetheless, grassroots movements need both international and national protection and recognition to thrive and create lasting change. The impact of Myanmar women's-led activisms on regional peace and security dialogues shows that change, while challenging, is possible when grassroots efforts receive international backing. Our organizations model a form of leaderships that prioritize accountability, protections for the vulnerable, and community resilience. Our success stories in the midst of war on civilians challenges ASEAN to view grassroots advocacy as a critical component of peace and security. So my last part of the presentations will be the challenges and lessons learned in integrating gender equality in post-conflict recovery. Implementing UNSCR 1325 has reshaped the global peace agenda by calling for women's leadership in post-conflict recovery. Yet the journey is full of challenges. Persistent obstacles to women's inclusion in recovery processes. One core challenge is the gap between policy and practice, as this lecture title. In Southeast Asia, entrenched gender norms often marginalize women in post-conflict settings. national action plans on UNSC 1325 may articulate strong commitments to women's inclusions, but cultural resistance persists. Conflict is often seen as a male domain, with men viewed as natural leaders in peace building, while women's contributions remained undervalued. This perception limits women's participation and scope of recovery efforts, as policy fail to address gender-specific needs such as economic empowerment and access to justice. Addressing gender-based violence. Gender-based violence remains a critical issue, and protecting survivors require more than symbolic policy commitments. In Myanmar, there are ample of documented cases of gender-based violence, extensively documented. Yet, survivors continue to face impunity rather than justice. This reality underscores the need to robust survival-centered policies within national action plans. Indonesia's national action plans can learn from these challenges by embedding systems that prioritize women's safety, dignity, and justice, not leaving out the LGBTQI community, of course. Lessons from our Myanmar's resilience women organizations. In Myanmar, despite military oppressions and limited resources, women organizations have demonstrated extraordinary resilience, advocating for peace and supporting communities at the grassroots levels. This resilience highlights a crucial lesson for promoting gender equality locally and nationally. This is extremely important to empower women's organizations as they understand the unique needs of their communities and therefore essential partners in any sustainable peace effort. Indonesia's National Action Plan could benefit from fostering strong partnerships between the government and women rights organizations. Such collaborations would ground peace-building initiatives in local realities, as well as ensure that gender-responsive efforts are more inclusive, effective, and sustainable. Thank you so much. That's my end of presentation.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Mesa Sabipiu, for your powerful insight into the role of women in conflict resolution and your ongoing effort to integrate gender perspective into national security policies. We also deeply appreciate for sharing the rich experience from Myanmar, of course, which have been invaluable to our understanding of the challenges and progress in gender equality in conflict zones. All right, students, ladies and gentlemen, now we move on to our final speaker for this session, Mrs. Visakha Dharmadasa. She's the founder of the Association of War-Affected Women in Sri Lanka. Mrs. Visakha's work is deeply rooted in her personal experience, having lost her son in the Sri Lankan Civil War. And through this organization, she has dedicated her effort to fostering reconciliation among communities and ensuring women active participation in peace processes. Her remarkable contribution to peace building have earned her international recognition. Mrs. Visakha Dharmadasa, we are honored to have you with us today. And please, the floor is yours. Your time is 20 minutes. Please, Mrs. Visakha.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all, especially to the students, because they are the future of any country. And thank you, Ruby, and also very happy to have May with us. Yes, this is a historical moment and a historical time of the world. And speaking about the WPS agenda is critical, because we do know the world is not the place that we want it to be. Our work on 1325 started way back, even before the Asian tsunami 2004. In 2003 and 4, we were working 1325 to the village. That's the workshops that we did in all our 25 districts. And why it was important for us to do the workshops at that time and what was the result. I'm telling this specially because, yes, Resolution 1325 is passed at the UN, enormous, with all the countries. But what is the relevance and how we can adapt it to our day-to-day work? When we had 1325 workshops, the tsunami hit Indonesia first and Sri Lanka. We could advocate to have women at the disaster committees. So starting from that, we put 1325 to practice immediately post-tsunami because we demanded from the government that women are included in the disaster relief committees in all administrative, not only the districts, but up to the village level. I'm telling this because how we can practically use 1325 in our day-to-day work. And also, not stopping at that, we establish a group of women, one each from each of the Sri Lanka's 25 districts, what we call the Team 1325, because we wanted the women to work on the WPS agenda at the grassroots level. I always say, yeah, you see the workshop. That's one of the first workshops that we had on Resolution 1325, taking Resolution 1325 to the village. And then the next slide is on the Team 1325. The importance of the WPS agenda mainly at the grassroots level, when the women feel that their lives are changed because of this resolution, that's the day that we say that this resolution is fully implemented. Because whatever resolution, whatever decision taken at the highest level in New York by the United Nations have to resonate with us, our grassroots women's lives. Then only we know that it is an effective resolution. We also adopted different documents, taking the resolution to the people. We had consultations with women, and we came up with a document which is called Women's Voices in Peace, Security and Development, as well the Sri Lankan Women's Agenda on Women, Peace and Security. Because we wanted the voices of the grassroots women to be heard loud and clear in policy spaces. You could also see a picture of, we brought women from the north to the central hills, connecting them with each other to strengthen their bonds. Because all of you know that Sri Lanka had a war for 30 long years. So it's not easy. When you have a war for 30 long years in a country, we do know how the devastation happens. So this is why we wanted to build a strong network of women working for the Women, Peace and Security agenda, and we brought them to the Central Hills from the north and east. And I also want to highlight, as we did in 2004, where we tied the tsunami reliefs to Resolution 1325, we also should work on climate, adapting the resolutions areas which can be adapted to climate change, because That's one of the biggest threats that we see now. It's in the world. So it's important for young people to look and see how we can adopt 1325's 4 pillars to climate action. I really wanted to highlight this because that will send a strong message for the young people. And then the advocacy strategies for meaningful participation of women in peace negotiations. We do know, I think as Mr. Honesty spoke, yes, the numbers don't look very good. We are coming for 2.5 decades after the resolution was passed, but women are only 9.6% who have sat for negotiations, 13.7% are mediators. These are formal mediators. And the signatories, 26.6%. Not a very good picture because of the fact that they say, studies show that peace agreements, when women are there as signatories, last longer. We do know in Northern Ireland, Monica McWilliams played a crucial role, not necessarily only bringing the Good Friday Agreement, but up to now, up to today, looking at how it is implemented. It's extremely important. Peace agreements can come, but how it is implemented is something that we as women have to look. And also, not only women, but men and women together have to really monitor whether these agreements really resonate the ideas, the aspirations of the people on the ground. And also, political solutions without getting the women's voices don't stand long. And that's why a gender-sensitive TJ processes or transitional justice processes is vital because women are affected disproportionately in wars. We do know that. I think Ruby spoke about it, Maeve spoke about it, and it's a common knowledge. So how are we making the recovery also to be gender sensitive and taking their needs, their specific needs into consideration is very, very important. And also one area that women can play a crucial role is as mediators. We do play that crucial role as mediators on the grassroots level. When Ruby told about prevention, yes, women take a lot of effort at the grassroots level, completely unrecognized, but they take a leading role in preventing conflicts because of the fact that we live day in and day out with our communities. We do know when there is a difference in the community. So that's why women are able to work with the society, exactly reach out across the divides to come together and mitigate imminent conflicts. Up to now, this resource is not even looked at. And that's why it's extremely important for us to call for the women's voices, especially the grassroots level women's voices, their work on conflict mitigating, conflict mediation, to be heard loud and clear and recognized at the highest levels of policy making. We also, when Ruby said prevention, and yes, for protection, women work. But the challenge is for our participation. As we know, whether it's the political participation or whether it's peace participation, negotiations, ceasefire negotiations, women are really marginalized. Because yes, we do understand that the social domain for millennia was dominated by men. But women played a crucial role within their domestic sphere, bringing up good citizens. But the world has changed. The world demands not only one half of the population, but the other half to come. And especially, it's not just because the other half, but because what women bring to the table. Women do bring a whole new perspective to peace building, because we are socialized on being compassionate, understanding, compromising within our families, with our siblings. We can use these valuable qualities that we are socialized with in peace negotiation, because what by the end of the day is not to kill the other side, but to work a solution where all sides can be together and build up our nations. And that is exactly what is needed by the world. And especially I want to also speak, I mean, it will be a shame if we don't speak about the reality in the world. When it was 10 years, I had the privilege of speaking at the UN Security Council through an ARIA formula. But we are demanded indicators, to develop indicators. When it was the 10th anniversary, that didn't happen. And by the 10th anniversary, we thought, yes, WPS agenda is making a vital change in the peace and security landscape of the globe. But 2023, 2024, we do understand that it is not. World is not the place that we wanted it to be. So what can we do as not only women, as human beings? What can we do? And this is very important for us all to think. The challenges are enormous, but we do know every challenge has an opportunity. Always in life, challenges brings opportunity. The challenges that this world is facing today is bringing that much opportunity to the world for us, the peace builders, to come forward and look into solutions, not the way the solutions were found when the United Nations was established 74 years ago. Just only having 5 countries as P5 is not going to work. It has to be expanded. So it's not necessarily only looking at our countries, because that's vital, but we women have to use the women, peace and security agenda to change the whole global normative frameworks. To call the United Nations, you have to look at your setup. Is only 5 countries and vetoing have helped the country, the United Nations mainly. Their core principle of world peace, sustaining world peace, has it helped? No, we know that very well. So we have to work towards changing that, bringing more countries to the Security Council so that there will be parity in decision making, not necessarily only gender parity, but country-wise parity at the global level. And also definition of security. What is security? Is a big gun, a multi-barrel rocket launcher is security? Is that security? So it is high time that women walk in to define security as we define security. When we make our enemy secure so that the enemy will not be an enemy anymore. We do know people react, not only humans, if all living react for fear. If we can take that fear out of individuals, that's the day that world peace will prevail. So I'm going to stop at that and I'm open for questions. Thank you very much.
All right, give applause to Mrs. Visaka. All right, thank you, Visaka, for sharing your remarkable journey and the impactful work you have done to empower women and promote peace in Sri Lanka. We are also deeply grateful for the insightful experience you have shared from Sri Lanka, particularly in fostering reconciliation and advocating for women's roles in peace processes. All right. Before we begin the session, Q&A session, I'd like to remind everyone here, also in the Zoom, a few ways you can ask a question. If you're joining us in person here in this room, please feel free to raise your hand if you have a question, and I will call you on to speak. And if you prefer, you can also write your question on a slip of paper, and our team, Mbak Mas on the back, will collect your paper and pass it to me, and I write it for you. For those of you participating via Zoom, you can either type your question in the chat box. I don't know how to tell it, chatting box in the Zoom, or you can use a raise hand feature in Zoom, and I will make sure to read your question aloud for the speaker to respond. Now we will try to accommodate as many as question because our time is running out. I have to finish this meeting, this conference at 11 o'clock because we have to go to Jumat prayer. So we only have like 20 minutes, yeah? Only 20 minutes. Now let's get started with the first question. Anyone please raise your hand if you have any question. Yes, one over there, and then the other one on the left. And any one of you want to, yeah, from Zoom? All right, Afrisa. All right, Afrisa. Please, I will start from the Zoom, Afrisa, and then two from the room. All right, Afrisa first, come on.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Afrisa Arvela Bruginting from International Relation, University of Jember. Now I wanna ask a question for my Sabepyu. You've been deeply involved in advocating for women's participation in national security policies in Myanmar. Do you believe are the biggest barriers preventing women from taking more active roles in peace building and conflict resolutions? And how can we overcome them? That's all my question. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Afrisa. The second question is on the right, on the back. Yes, with the hijab. Yes, you. Come on, you can use my microphone then. And mention your name and where are you from?
Yeah, my name is Nabila and I am
Nabila.
from International Relations, University of Jember.
All right.
I would like to ask a question for Miss Visaka Darmadasa.
Visaka, all right.
I want to ask about the as a country that has a conflict emerge in the civil society. There's also this trend in foreign policy where countries are implementing their feminist foreign policy, and I would like to ask is the existence of the feminist foreign policy of some countries, are they actually significant for the peace building in the civil society? And do they actually involve with the women-led organizations or women rights organizations in the grassroots? And I also read your PowerPoint slide that you are currently working on so many workshops to the grassroots. Are there also workshops that that partnered with a country that are implementing a feminist foreign policy? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And the last question is someone on the left, my left. Siapa tadi yang on my life? Oh, is that you? All right, yeah.
Okay, my name is Rahma and I'm an international relations student. My question is for Miss Visaka Dharmadasa. You have had such a personal and impactful experience in advocating for reconciliation and women's involvement for reconciliation in peace process in Sri Lanka. My question is, how do you address the challenges of fostering trust between different communities, especially when there are deep-rooted historical conflict? Thank you.
All right. Sorry, what's your name?
Rahma.
Rahma, all right. Now, our time is running. We only have like 15 minutes, so I will give each speaker 5 minutes. Yeah, start from Visaka. Please, Visaka, you can answer the question in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first question was, do the feminist foreign policy make a change in peace and security in a country? Number two was also the countries which are having foreign policy, whether they are working with the women's organization, and also about whether we collaborated with the countries of foreign policy when we had the workshops on 1325. Feminist foreign policy means it's not necessarily feminism. Feminist foreign policy is getting the policies right, more humane, more human rights based. So that's exactly what we say. Whatever we do, when we say feminist way of doing things is doing things more accommodating everybody. So that is what is called feminist foreign policy. And I think, yes, because Sweden is one of the countries where Alva Myrdal, I think 100 years ago or more, where they had these women coming together. And that is why these countries also are developed, because the citizens feel equal. About only women. No, men, women, everything. That's what is feminist foreign policy. And our workshops were in 2003 and 2004. And it was funded by Germany at that time. And the other thing was that this is the base of peace building. Without trust, there is no peace building. And for me, if you ask, what is the biggest wealth that I have earned? That's the trust I have from all four corners of my country. If I go today to the liberation tigers of Tamil Eelam, where my son, as the Sri Lankan military officer, fought with, I have the trust of them. So much so, I was able to bring the Tamil diaspora and the Buddhist monks together for a peace dialogue in Nepal in 2023 in April. And we came up with a very comprehensive document, which is called the Himalaya Declaration. Please have a look. Himalaya Declaration, you can Google it and you see that's where, because the trust is the utmost important. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now, I think one of two questions is for Mrs. May Sabepiu. Now I will give 5 minutes to Miss May Sabepiu to answer the question.
Okay,
Please,
thank you so
Miss
much.
Ma.
Thank you so much for your question, Afrisha. Well, I mean, I don't know in the other conflict context, but in Myanmar, our context, the biggest barriers preventing women from taking more active role in peace building and three things. The first thing is militarism. So it's like our country's been living under military regime for so long. So like since our country has independence in 1948, the internal conflict started. I mean, internal armed conflict started. And you can imagine that we've been living in a country which is the longest civil war in the history. So since the militarism is so strong, of course, there is no space for women to, participate in the peace building because men, they hold guns, they hold power, and, they dominate the peace table, of course. The second thing is authoritarianism. So it's like since, we've been living under the military junta, of course, authoritarian government, mostly dominated by men, they are not giving space for women, not only in the peace building and conflict resolution, in any arena of public spaces, So we have a research that, the highest positions women could have in the government public servants is, at director general level. And, over the director general level positions, there is a very thick glass ceilings there, and you will never could able to break it. So the third thing is nationalism. So it's like a lot of international community thinks that Myanmar is majority Buddhist population. And, Buddhism is very peaceful and, a kindness to people. It's nothing to do with the religion. But, the nationalists, the extreme nationalist people, they are using religion, to control women's to marry, women's rights to reproductive health, and, everything. So I think, these are the main three barriers that we have. And of course, we women's rights organizations, we are not just sit back and, give up. Of course, we are fighting back in many different ways. So right now, Myanmar is the situations we call a Spring Revolution, but for the international community, they name us democratic resistance. So it's like we are fighting against military junta to end militarism as well as the authoritarianisms. And to fight against nationalisms, I think it's a long way. Even greater than the fight with militarisms or the authoritarianisms, because majority of the population, they simply thinks that women should be submissive, and women should be controlled by the setting laws and policies. So to be able to overcome this, I think we need to change our education system, because it's like, like our education is also very much based on, nationalist idea. So it's like, before the military coup in 2021, the Gender Equality Network that I'm working with, we work closely with the Ministry of Education, like to review and also like change school curricula, like from the primary levels to the high school levels, because it's like we need to teach children since they are young, like about human rights, democratic principles, and how to respect to each other, regardless of religions or sexual orientations, or like regardless of race and ethnicity you belongs to. So we've been working closely with the Ministry of Education for like more than 3 years. And unfortunately, like military took over the country in 2021, and all of our efforts and all of our work need to stop. So that would be my response. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. May Sabepiu. Our time is running fast. Now it's your turn, Ibu Ruby. Do you have anything you would like to highlight, Ibu Ruby? I will give you not more than 5 minutes, because we have to close our session, this session before 11. Ibu Ruby?
Yeah. Number one is I would like you to read the book on the adoption of 1325 in Indonesia. There are two important debates during 2007 until 2014. Why Indonesia had to adopt women, peace and security. There was a lot of resistance within government agency on the issue of security, because it's been many, many years. The definition of security is so much in the territorial form, and also very male dominated understanding on the security. So women, peace and security is actually bring back idea on the human security. In particular, when we talk about women, let's women define about security, which of course we want a definition of security, including free from any threat related with the sexual gender-based violence inside the house, also outside the house. Number two is about the conflict. So the term conflict itself is being threatened by the state, because conflict may not happening at the national level, but it's happening at the subnational level. That actually why women peace security need to address any different conflict, because there is an important to ensure that in dealing with the conflict resolution and also conflict prevention, we need to have a women inclusion. In almost 10 years of the implementation of women peace and security in Indonesia, we learned that, number one, political will is very crucial. Political will is not just about, okay, let's get it done. We pass the women peace and security agenda through the national action plan, and we give the budget, and we engage a how do you call it, a coordinating meeting. We engage civil society. I think more than that, it is about how we ensure that inclusion on the whole process of the peace building, conflict resolution, prevention, and all of that is really having gender sensitivity, and we want it actually explicitly appear on the document. Number two is national action plan in implementing in different countries. There is a type of outward looking, meaning that the national action plan that has by several developed countries are normally actually helping other countries to develop national action plan and increase the women leadership and so on. But there are also some countries very inward looking, and meaning that they develop the and improve the internal system on handling conflict and also ensuring security sector reform and many other related issues that actually applicable at the national and really answering the problem at the national level. If you ask me which one is ideal, it have to be two. In the last 18 years, it's very difficult if you only have national action plan that inward looking, because you may not able to really communicate at the global level to challenge the existing of 1325, because that is needed to be answered by the practical works that many people done on the ground. And then there is also huge needed for the future of 1325, not only focusing on the armed conflict, but expanding to the area where actually women's security threatened. So Indonesia is still very inward looking. Therefore, you will see that the face of our diplomacy on the women, peace and security, not yet actually bringing good practices from the ground and then challenge the international commitment, or even bringing again the new resolution that Indonesia passed in the Security Council 2538 on the female soldier in peacekeeping really have to be interpreted at the national level, and particularly challenging the security sector reform that we have a homework for a long time. If it is not done, it is impossible to see the world actually change. Finally, that the civil society engagement is very crucial. Without civil society, it is impossible that actually implementation of 1325 will happen right now. So the state should really recognize the presence of civil society and also open up a potential collaboration for state and civil society to work side by side, because we know state has resources and they know that civil society working efficiently, effectively. Why not working together? I think that kind of level we are still not so much, having good picture on this. We still have to work on how to bring everybody, including academia, to work on the women, peace and security implementation. Thank you so much for listening, and looking forward to see you all again in other spaces on women, peace and security.
All right. Yes. And explanation, it is clear that there is still a lot of work, lot of PM that we need to address, especially in Indonesia. And thank you all for the participation, guys, and for the insightful question during the Q&A session. We also Miss Melissa Review and Visaka Dharma. And I also want to thank everyone here, the audience, for your engagement and thoughtful contribution. It's clear that as future leader, the change makers, you are all key to advancing the goal of WPS agenda, not just within your own communities, but on a global scale. As we conclude the session, let's remember that the journey to peace and gender equality is still ongoing.
Second session will begin promptly at 1 p.m. Please make sure to return to this room on time so we can continue our discussion. Once again, thank you all for being part of this seminar. We hope to see you in the future discussion and initiative on this important topic. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ahab.
Thank you so much for everyone for their enthusiasm in this session. And we sincerely thank all of today's speakers for their enlightening lecture and also our moderator for accompanying our lovely speaker today. Next, we have come to the break session. And now we spare some time for everyone to take a break and pray Jum'ah. Everyone is permitted to leave the room, but please remember to return at 12:45 because we will continue our second session. Thank you.